Stardate S0906. We've been sent to the Zolder system to negotiate with a hostile civilization that's developed and used a weapon that's been banned by the Federation. The new weapon's a curb missile the Federation finds to be too dangerous.
Approaching Zolder 6, Captain.
All stop.
All stop.
On screen, open a channel.
They're powering up their primary weapons.
Red alert! Red alert! Shields up!
Shields up. They're firing their weapon. Direct hit. Next up. Shields down to 16%.
Fire all phasers and photon torpedoes, Mr. Worf. Light them up!
Coolant leak. We have a coolant leak in engineering.
Direct hit. Deck 13.
We have a port breach in progress.
All hands abandon ship! All hands abandon ship! Avoid the curb weapon at all costs!
Welcome back to the beginning of another Sim Racing Alliance season. It's been a long break, and we're back.
It's been quite a long break, and I think you, me, and everybody involved with tonight's action is super excited to get going.
So they got a straight fight the rest of the night. He's going to have to make a move. That's a Punterino.
Serious pressure from Lustra.
Trying to switch on the inside. So when he goes on the inside for the defense, oh my goodness, right in between.
He's going to dive to the inside of both of them. They're going to go three wide corner.
And we're off and away for SRA.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. We're here live with the Sim Racing Alliance. This is Division 4, week number, oh god, let's see if I can count, 6 here at the Circuit Zolder. I think I got that right? Week 6, here we are.
Yeah, we're week 6.
Yep, I'm Andrew Reif, once again, joined by my good friend Adam Santana. We're looking at an exciting and somewhat chilly race here tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have night qualifying again for the second race in a row, which will be exciting. And I think we're going to have a pretty chilly one.
Yeah, we are indeed, as lots of people have been getting their practice laps in on the practice server and, of course, elsewhere. And here in Division 4, of course, there is a load of competition. So let's real quick take a look at the track map to see exactly what we're dealing with. I know you and I had some words for exactly how this was going to play out before we actually got live on the broadcast, but the one corner that I'm looking at more than any is turn 5, that first chicane. I mean, that curve can make or break your lap, and more often than not, it's breaking it.
It's going to be a tough one. If you take it just an inch wrong, you can end up in the wall, you can end up around, you can be spun on the racing line. Just so many things can happen. It's gonna be a tricky one.
Absolutely. Of course, the turn 7 complex, lots of time to be gained through there as well. And
which one? Which turn 7?
We talked about that. I've got my thoughts on that. All right, but the second chicane followed by the two right-handers there can be a little bit challenging to get right as well. You want to push the track limits as much as you possibly can. I would not be surprised to see a couple of drivers maybe getting some track cut violations, maybe not a drive-through fully, but it will be challenging. Nonetheless, challenging track, challenging conditions here, not quite as Valencia was in particular, but these are drivers who are up to the task. So let's go ahead and switch on over to the current driver standings as we have Mike Gino, who is definitely the one to be watching out for here, has been running away with this season the last couple of races.
On an absolute tear, 3 in a row. He maybe admitted were his good luck charms. We'll see if he makes it 4 in a row tonight. He's been so impressive these last 3 races.
He certainly has. Curtis Adams moving a little bit up the field as well. Selena Boonstra, Scott Fisher, and Jess Osborne have all been putting in solid performances as well. Eduardo Rodriguez has been one that we've been keeping our eye on over these past couple of weeks, who has moved down in the standings a little bit. Some unfortunate circumstances here and again. But I really want to see a little bit of a return to form, if at all possible. Of course, we always like to see drivers getting the better of their performances. I guess looking further down the list as well. Felker and Barker locked in a battle there for position 15, separated by only 3 points. Pat Cockcroft right in the mix there as well, just behind Matthew Wolkowitz. So a little bit of a fight going on in the midfield here.
Yeah, and I think we would be remiss not to mention Christian Lorenzo, who's currently leading the Silver Championship as well in P10 in the overall standings.
He's had an impressive performance, and we'll take a look here at the second page of our driver standings just to round things out. A couple of names actually down here that I was a little bit surprised to see as the season has carried on. Waleed Sadat in particular, Ian Demler. These are two racers that we've talked about a non-zero number of times throughout this season. Last couple of rounds, I believe Valencia and Suzuka in particular were standouts for them. So it's a bit jarring to see them here at the back, but hey, somebody's got to be near the last.
Yeah, a decent amount of bad luck between the two of them as well. If you remember, Waleed Sadat blew his engine at Valencia, and yeah, that was a real killer.
Next up, the team standings. I think the drivers are starting to get onto their qualifying laps, so we'll not linger here for too long, but big story, Lunar Motorsports steaming out into the front. Lorenzo Fisher Motorsport as well. Kristen Lorenzo, as you mentioned, a phenomenal performance so far this season, along with Scott Fisher. But you look further down the field as well, Curtis Adams and Dakota Taylor on OBDA. Al Menards is a good shout. Ron Flo and Robbie Toddy for Comic Racing. Apex Hunters moving up the field. Red Eye Racing trying to defend their number 6 spot there with 495 points. They've got a little bit of a gap. But yeah, let's go ahead and swap on over.
I think
so you can see all the team standings there.
We still have another minute, I think, before qualifying starts.
Are they still in practice?
They are. Yeah, I think we were talking about it earlier, the 4 teams within 61 points, but I think the big story is Mike Gino and Matthew Harold, 61 points back. Matthew Harold, I think, missed 3 or 4 races in a row after winning the opening round and came back last week and probably didn't have the result they wanted, but both of them are race winners, and yeah, we'll see if Matthew Harold shows up tonight. They could end the night in P1 in the team championship.
It's entirely possible. Let me just get a quick look here in the race. Matthew Harold did finish 9th place in Brands Hatch, so it certainly was a good performance coming back from that little bit of a break, and it's entirely possible that Ghost Rider Racing, the Mercenaries, do come back into the mix here for the team standings. I believe we have 2 more, 2? Because there will be 6 and then 7 and then 8. Yep. We have 2 more races after this one. So not quite our penultimate tour into some of these legendary circuits, but we're getting close.
Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a finish to the season, Laguna and Bathurst after tonight. Those are, I feel like, 2 circuits where the drivers either love them or hate them.
Lots of potential to have an accident as well. Speaking from a little bit of experience, I've been practicing for the 12 hours of Bathurst relatively recently. I don't know about yourself, but let's just say I've hit the wall on the mountain a couple of times. Yeah,
I haven't quite started my practice for this weekend's race. One of my teammates has done a little bit of practice, but we're a little bit lacking, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Bathurst isn't my favorite, but I mean, you can't pass up an endurance race, especially a 12-hour Bathurst. It's gonna be so much fun.
It's gonna be so much fun. I mean, we're going to have some cars, I think, that potentially might not even qualify because of the number of entrants.
Yep,
that's a story.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, and someone in chat saying Matthew Harold might not show up having computer issues. Oh, this is Matthew. Might not show up having computer issues. I'm trying best to fix, but it's not looking good. That is an absolute shame, and we hate to hear that.
Praying for you.
Yes, we're absolutely hoping you can get into the server before qualifying ends.
As well as Mike Gino has been doing, I'm fairly certain that having a teammate score some points would that'd be pretty helpful for the team standing.
So it looks like we have drivers rolling out of pit lane.
Underway with qualifying. Cannot be mad with that. And of course, I'm going to have to reload my ACC race control here for just a second. Or, yeah, excuse me. Here we go. You could take over for us as we get underway with the quality session. Who are we looking at out here in front? This is...
Kevin Johnson was the first car out of the pit, so I think we'll watch him through the outlap. And yeah, as we mentioned, qualifying is at 5 a.m. It's very cold conditions, and at least from my own experience, it's been really difficult to keep temperature in the tires and keep them in the correct operating windows. So that's another challenge that our drivers are going to be dealing with tonight.
You can see a little bit of weaving here on the lead up down to their first proper flying lap. And I have to agree, of course, temperatures has been one of the biggest things that we were talking about. Some drivers opting to open up the brake ducts a little bit more. I know this go around, it's certainly going to be a quality strategy getting those brakes up to temperature. But simultaneously with the tires, you're going to have to watch out for those pressures. Might have to tick them up a couple of notches for the race. And speaking of, I don't believe there is going to be a 25-second mandatory stop, so you can go ahead and take that 1 liter of fuel and fulfill that. So you see just a little bit of a wobble there from Johnston. I mean, trying to find the grip. You're the first one out on a practically ice-cold circuit here. I'm not surprised to see a little bit of a shake.
Yeah, there's going to be absolutely no grip out on the track for the silver drivers tonight, and I think it's going to be a real struggle for them to put in a decent lap time. I think it's going to be tough for the golds as well. The track will rubber in, but I don't know if we'll see a huge amount of track evolution. But it'll get better, but yeah, I don't know by how much.
Yeah, better does not necessarily mean good.
Yep.
As I think
Very
we
true.
well know. You can see Johnston right there taking as much of the exit of the second chicane as you possibly can. If you're not quite nipping that cone, I think you've taken the correct line for the most part, but it is easy to just overdrive it that tiny little bit in pursuit of lap time and invalidate. So I think they've got it under control, and it looks like it's been a fairly clean first lap here so far. So they'll jump up, of course, first on the timing table because they're going to be first across the line, and we'll see how things develop from there. I'm going to be expecting some low 29s, high 28s potentially from this first group of laps potentially, maybe into the mid 29s because of the track condition, but we'll see how things pan out here. It is going to be a 29.5. Look at there.
Spot
I guess
on.
my predictions aren't necessarily inaccurate.
Yeah, very, very on. And then the Lorenzo goes faster. Not a surprise.
Lorenzo, who I believe was the highest qualifier of the silver drivers at Brands Hatch, with a very impressive time. I think we anticipated that Lorenzo would be fighting for pole with the time that they set. Certainly if they had been out in the second 10-minute group, things would have been going well for them. I'm already noticing Johnston is up 5/10 on their time. Looking down the field as well, Ron Flo and Wicks as well are both improving quite a fair bit. So we'll stick on board here, actually, for the second flying lap.
Yeah, do you want to put one of the others on picture-in-picture?
Sure thing, yeah. Let's get on board with Flo on the other side. Through the first chicane for Flo. Currently up, oh my goodness, Flo is actually improving by quite a bit. I'm seeing a lot of green on my race
Felker's up
control.
1.3. I think we'll need to check in on that.
Was that 1.6 seconds now?
1.7. Yeah.
The first chicane. I mean, the first time was a 132.7, kind of a banker lap, if we're being honest. But still, that's a huge improvement.
Yeah, I mean, still, the way it's coming down, it's going to be a pretty good lap time, assuming that Felker can finish it off.
Johnston losing a little bit of time, I believe, near the final section of the racetrack, but does go up to first place, a 128.9.
Wow.
Flo, who's in the PIP right now, is up about a second and some change.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be a 10th and a half as they soar towards the line. So they're going to get into the 120, or not quite the 129s, 130.3, but times are going to tumble very rapidly here, I think, as the drivers find their pace. And Felker, I believe, has invalidated the lap.
Oh. At least it's a short lap, so like Brands, the drivers will get maybe an extra lap that they wouldn't get during qualifying at a lot of the other tracks. Yeah, Morrison hopped up into P3. That's a pretty solid lap. Look at let's check in on Channing. Currently up a half second.
I'm going to take Felker in the PIP as well, so we can keep an eye on that. He does go a little bit wide right as I take that point of view. But into the final section of the lap here, Channing, looking for a bit of a mighty improvement. Oh, that's well deep, though.
Point. That'll really hurt the next lap as well. Lorenzo's a half second up. And I have to say, the orientation of this track map really throws me off. Every time I see the drivers going through the hairpin, I think they're in the first sector, but they're really in the third sector.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. It's a little bit wonky.
Yeah, flip it the other way, Kunos.
So that's all we got to say about it. Yeah, up losing a little bit of time out of the third chicane, but it's still going to be a mighty improvement. 1:28.64.
That's a very good lap time.
Sheesh.
Sheesh, indeed.
More heavy improvements further down the field, but I am noticing a little bit of red. Some not improving surely as much as I would like. Morrison right now not finding a whole lot of time. Flo about 0.2 up on their personal best, but that's still only a 1:30.3, which surely leaves a lot to be desired here as we're getting up near the end of this first 10 minutes of qualifying before too long. You're going to have to get your proper flyer in the next couple of laps.
Oh, Matthew Harrell just said in chat he can't even boot into Windows. We absolutely hate to hear that. That's awful. Ugh. I'd be so beside myself.
Yeah. Well, I know personally, I do a lot of practice, which is debatably unnecessary, but I would certainly be disappointed if suddenly, there were outstanding circumstances keeping me from showing up at the circuit on race day. So my sympathies for you, sir.
Sullivan was up on his lap, and I don't know if they invalidated or they maybe set themselves up for this next one.
It's valid, so they're going to have to go again. I'm noticing, again, a lot of red on my screen here.
Yeah.
Flo's not finding the significant improvement they would need to move too far up.
Oh, Sullivan, I think that's invalidated. Yeah, Felker again was the big mover, but dropping down again just doesn't seem to be able to string the whole lap together. We can go back to Channing, who's about 0.7 up.
Feel like there's a lot of time being left on the table for most of these drivers, if not all, right now. I mean, Lorenzo, of course, sitting up in front, 1:28.6. For Division 4, I feel like that's a reasonably good time. But then the remainder of the field, I'm seeing 130s, 130, 130, 130, 130, and 132.5 for Felker, which is not nearly as impressive as I would expect. I mean, this is a driver who we've seen near the back of the field so far this season, but I'm certainly expecting a little bit more. Channing, though, on a massive improvement right now. I lost track of it there for a second.
P4. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Lap. Let's not go to Felker on the cam, because I think every time we do poor Felker, I think we're cursing him. Channing's was up a couple tenths through turn 1, but then it all fell away.
Wicks is up.
Well, yeah, let's check on Wicks. Haven't mentioned him so far tonight.
That's right as we switched to that cam, you lost a lot of time in the air. Oh, you're kidding! You're kidding! Which is up like 0.6 on their lap, and then we switched to the cam.
Oh man.
We should just change scenes. Just go back to us.
Go back to the intermission.
The drivers are having some performance anxiety or something. I don't know what's going on.
I'm gonna check on Welker as soon as they get through the last corner, because they're 1.8 up.
Get Channing up in the PIP. They're improving as well. Sullivan right now, who's ahead of them, is not. So if Channing improves their lap just a little bit,
Felker picked up position and a lot of time there as well.
Very true.
I'll go to Lorenzo. Channing's really improving.
Sullivan went off there. It was a yellow flag, but they were well out of the way, so Channing carries on with the lap. This is big. They can move up onto the top 3 positions. Oh my goodness! Channing's time just went through the roof.
Oh no!
And then,
yeah, that'll be qualifying over.
Oh my goodness! Man. Looking at race control is a blessing and a curse, because I get so excited and then immediately look over to my other screen to see what they've done right, and they're off the track.
Yeah, Lorenzo not really setting time. Let's go back to Wicks, who is 3.5 tenths up right now in the final sector through the hairpin, going through the mighty turn 9.
Picking up a big improvement. Almost 7/10 here into the final chicane.
This could get Wicks maybe up around P4. Oh, a little too much curb.
That's going to cost them quite mightily, and they might just they can't quite pick up the position.
Man, I think the conditions out there were very, very tricky. Let's see, there's our 3 on the trot. Championship leader Mike Gino, first one out for the gold drivers.
Not surprised to see that. More than likely going to be the pace setter for these for this first lap, and you can see drivers queuing up there behind. We'll get on board with Mike Gino for their first flying lap. Again, the benchmark, a 1:28.647. The practice session that I saw prior to the race start, before we even got into the race server, I should say, I believe was a 1:28.1 or 2 from Gino. I could be mistaken on that, but I definitely know it was a low 28. So that's kind of where I'm expecting them to land.
I believe that is correct. I think it was in the daytime, though, but
yes,
with these cooler conditions, and with the practice that they've likely put in, a low 28 is not out of the question.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a 27 if we're being honest with ourselves.
If we see 27s, I'm going to go scream in a pillow after the stream ends.
You and me both. I've been so desperate to find time on this track. And you see Gino, it almost looks effortless the way they navigated through a second chicane and then the exit as well. But it's very difficult to tell if you've actually gotten that correct without looking at the timing sheet, in my personal experience. So we'll see how Gino fares on this very first flying lap. Again, probably not going to be the most exceptional as they come to terms with the track conditions at the moment, but you can certainly expect to see some very, very low times as time goes on. Braking just about on the light post there, trying to use all of the curb on entry and all of the curb on the exit as well. Maybe not quite apexing that the way they wanted. It's still going to be a solid banker.
Yeah, Gino just looks so hooked up in that Mercedes. 0.8 off, yeah, I mean, but the tires are probably not even close to being in the right temperature there. Ooh, I think maybe invalidated that. Let's, White Scarver.
White Scarver invalidated
I think
their
a lot
lap.
of invalidated. Let's.
Rodriguez invalidated
Yeah.
by the looks of things. We're seeing drivers get onto the board now, and a lot of
Boomstra
them.
not too far behind Gino as well in P5.
Boomstra's improving quite a bit already on her lap. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But a lot of these gold drivers instantly slotting in behind the top 8 or so from the silver, top 7, I mean.
Look like a lot of invalidated laps on their bankers, so maybe take a second banker. Mike Gino must have made a mistake or just slowed down after they maybe invalidated at turn 1. Let's go to Jess Osborne. A half second up, but still going to, if you want to be around pole, going to need at least another 0.8.
Now Porsche looks ever so sprightly in the hands of the Lunar Motorsports drivers, I must admit.
So
almost makes me think I could probably drive it myself, but that's entirely untrue. Right?
Every time I think that, I get in and I try it, and then I crash right away.
Press the gas and it's in the wall. How did this happen?
The first time I ever drove the Porsche in a race was an endurance race at Monza. I was helping some friends out. I crashed on the outlap. Yeah, it was it was a race to
certainly
forget.
not crashing on this go around, thankfully.
No, Jess and Selena and the other drivers with this car in D4, they drive the car very well. Jess, 0.2 off. That's a very good lap.
Massive jump. Christian Lorenzo holds on to that provisional pole for now. With half of the session remaining here for the gold drivers, it does beg the question, will they find the time? Gino right now is up 0.2, but that won't put them anywhere close to that pole time right now. I'm looking further down in the order, and again, the biggest improvement I'm seeing is about 0.4 at present. I was expecting a little bit more, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, maybe they're still just working into it and maybe just getting those tire temps up and taking it a little bit easy, and they're going to go for it on these last 2 or 3. But yeah, I mean, could Christian Lorenzo keep it up there in pole? I mean, that seems like it could be a possibility.
Let's talk about stories. Let's talk about Hacksaw right now in 4th, Barker in 6th in terms of qualifying, and they're both improving slightly. So I have to say I'm impressed with that insofar as qualifying, of course, is right now. White Scarver has invalidated another lap.
Oof. Yeah,
29.7 is their benchmark right now.
Let's check in on Hacksaw.
Gino actually just got in front of them by about a tenth. But the improvement is coming for Hacksaw. If they can hold this lap together, they've got about a tenth and a half through Sector 1. Into the second chicane here.
Gonna need a lot more than that. And these gold drivers, it's not... The times aren't falling like we saw last week at Brands Hatch. Selena Boonstra 2/10 up.
Hacksaw might be saving though. I think they might have missed they might have braked a little bit too early for that third chicane there.
Yeah.
They don't
really
get the traction.
Lost
down.
all that. Because I think it was a couple tenths lost there.
Boonstra, massive improvement right now.
Yeah.
I did get confused with the track map, by the way. I don't know if you caught that a moment ago. I said it was the second chicane. It was definitely the hairpin. I thought it was the second chicane just looking at the track map.
We'll forgive you. It's dark out there.
I can't see here, even though I'm looking at my computer screen, and definitely not an actual racetrack. Boonstra was doing quite well for herself throughout the beginning of that lap, but here in the middle section, it's not looking so hot. Gino's improving right behind.
Goodness, we're going to Mike Gino. That was a huge jump through those last few corners. Oh my goodness, this is going to be provisional pole.
Quite easily at that.
Gosh, he's a machine.
Oh, this is gonna hurt for Osborne, who just invalidated a lap and onto the start finish straight would have been on pole if not for the invalidation.
Let's stay there. Do you want to bring up Gino on the picture-in-picture?
I'll give it a shot. Yeah, hang on. Let's put him up. He is improving very slightly, but Osborne certainly has it somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's all in that third sector, and now Maxwell was over 4/10 up, and now it's just falling away. Curtis Adams. Where is Curtis Adams on the lap?
Just the beginning.
In the first sector. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And maybe swap there. Well, it's after Jess, so we'll keep an eye on it. And yeah, Jess holding even, but as we saw that last invalidated, that huge chunk of time did come in the third sector.
It just invalidated again. Jess Osborne. Oh no. I'll skip over to Curtis Adams, who's trying to improve right now. Actually, there's a lot of places to move up. Right here through 6th through about 12th place is all 3/10 away, and Curtis Adams has roughly that amount of improvement coming in right now, screaming down towards the hairpin. So if they've got a little bit left in them, they might
catching
be able
Rodriguez,
to get
though, probably not going to hold them. Oh, good for Rodriguez to let Adams by.
If they've got time to save here, this could be big, but that's a huge if. It looks good on the entry. Can they get the power down on the exit? Maybe.
That's a great exit. There. That time is falling down. That's going to be around the top 5? P7.
Wait, what? I feel like that was more than that, but hey, you take what you can get. They've got one more lap, actually.
Yeah.
Could do something with it.
Yeah, looks like everyone's going to get one more in. Or this current lap, and 2 drivers going through the last 2 corners will get this lap in as well. Boonstra a 10th up in the first chicane.
Well, White's Carver was improving, but lost a lot. Only a moment ago. Would have been, again, a big improvement there in that 7th through 11th spot. About 3/10 separating all of them. Robbie Toddy is also improving. I'm going to take that on my screen. He was about 3/10 up, and of course, as soon as I switched to it, lost some time. What more do you expect?
We're past Halloween. We shouldn't be this spooky on the stream. This is insane.
I don't understand. White's Carver up again on the same lap.
Wow. Selena lost all the time, and yeah, the time's coming down. Hacksaw, yellow flag, maybe pulling over, and yeah, that'll in the call. White's Carver. Not a great exit out of the last corner, but going to pick up 3/10 and go up to P8.
Yeah, solid.
Go back to
Adams picked up a lot of time. Well, that was into the final chicane. I feel like the track condition might be influencing what we're seeing on the final chicane.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Up
That's
to
still
P5.
a quality lap.
Good
that
lap.
was only 1.5 tenths of time save.
Picked up three or 4 positions. Yeah. Very well done.
end of quality. I feel like I was staring at my timesheet for 90% of this thing.
I know.
How many fluctuations there were. I was hardly even looking at my actual race screen, so my apologies.
I know. I feel like I didn't see much action, and it was just all Christmas colors, just green and red.
We love stats. In this house, we love stats. That's all I'm going to say about it.
We are, yeah, that's, I was gonna say something, and then I just like, I don't remember what it was.
Well, while we get the grid set up here and the racers get their setups all set, we do want to give a huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at the Sim Racing Alliance, as well as support from Documise, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documise.com to learn more today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. So, we get a little track walk here. Again, just a little... You can only get this on the D4 broadcast. That's a complete lie. Somebody else can easily do it. But... taking a look here at our sum total qualification, a name I'm seeing that we haven't seen frequently before, Justin Rose in P4, very solid qualifying position for them. Christian Lorenzo starting P2, Osborne in the top 3 spots as well. Of course, it's Mike Gino on pole. I won't say it was expected necessarily, but if you predicted that way, I wouldn't blame you. Barker up in 11th, Hacksaw in 10th. Those are very high qualification spots for them. And I guess kind of to balance that out, Rodriguez in 16th, Robbie Totti in 13th, has been having a bit of a rough go in terms of qualifying performance. Scott Fisher, though, all the way down in 20th. KB Smith, 21st. Rodney Felker, 22nd. These are kind of a little bit, I would say, lackluster for their standard.
Yeah, Fisher and KB Smith, those are 2 huge surprises to be down that far. In my opinion, the big winner qualifying is Christian Lorenzo to be in P2 and silver, and closest competitor in P8.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of overtaking opportunities on this track. So if you're qualifying that far up the order, even if you have an abysmal race in terms of pace, odds are you're still going to finish reasonably high up the order. You know, just keep the mistakes to a minimum. Ideally, don't get hit in the back either, and you should have a fairly good run of luck, I would imagine. So Zolder, it was complicated for quali. I'm sure it will be just as complicated for race start as we prepare to get underway here with the formation lap. I want to hear your predictions, my friend. I feel like Barker and Hacksaw are going to have to defend a little bit from behind. I don't know. The BMW, of course, is really nice and stable, but I feel like Robbie Totti is going to be hounding them from the get-go.
Yeah, I think all these front-engine cars are going to be really strong through the first chicane because just the nature of the car, they can take more curbing than the mid and rear-engine cars. But, yeah, I think I have to agree that that's going to be... the first big battle we're going to see. And I think if you're Jess Osborne there in P3, you think you got to clear Lorenzo quick if you have a chance at Gino.
Absolutely. Pit strategies also going to be a point of contention here. We're back to the standard must take 1 liter of fuel, no tires, no nothing else. So yep, I'm assuming it's going to be a bit more standard.
58-minute pit windows, so I think we'll see... the vast majority on lap 1 or the last lap, and unless they get held up in traffic. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out and how people adapt to going back to that.
I see Matthew Errol in the chat as well. Might not be on the track, but certainly giving all the energy that they've got left over for teammate Mike Gino, who of course is starting from the lead of the pack. So that's wonderful to see. I mean, a little bit of camaraderie between teammates. What's not to love?
No, you love to see it. I mean, Matthew Harrell obviously not having the night they would want, but still showing up for their teammate and giving their support. So you love to see that.
Make their way through the second chicane here on that formation lap. I feel like I mentioned before, but the track limits there can be abused quite substantially. I do feel like, though, the cones that a lot of drivers will use as their reference for how much of the track limits they can get away with, they're probably not long for this world.
They might already be gone.
Wouldn't be surprised. So we're going to have to develop a little bit of that feel. You can even see dirt kicked up on the inside. Of course, with a hairpin, you want to take all that curb if you possibly can. Shorter line, get a little bit of extra traction as they move into double file here. Will Mike Gino be able to tear away? I mean, in that Mercedes, if you got good traction on race start against the McLaren of Christian Lorenzo, I feel like you're probably going to be on good odds.
Yeah, I mean, you got to like Gino having the inside in turn 1, but if Lorenzo can stay side by side through 1, we'll have the inside the rest of the way through until we get on to the second straight. So, yeah, Christian Lorenzo in P1 isn't out of the question.
We're preparing for lights out here. And Lorenzo up in double file here, the best silver qualifying driver, and the lights are on. Green has an amazing launch here to the outside. Is going to have the racing line into turn 1, takes it quite wide, but sticks it around the outside of Lorenzo. It's the lead of the race on the opening lap. What a move, what a launch, and it's no questions asked.
Fantastic start by Lorenzo there. I mean, just smoked Gino there. Wow.
If I'm seeing this correctly, everybody's gotten away cleanly. I see no yellow flags. Dean Stefani's actually in the pits, so some complications there. But as we hurtle down towards the first chicane, Lorenzo thinks about a little bit of defense onto the inside, but it looks like it's going to be mostly single file towards the back of the field, and maybe a potential move out of the outside as I see the cone go flying here. I believe that was Austin Weitzcarver and Selena Boonstra going at it, and there is a yellow flag in the back now between a couple of cars. I don't see anybody around, though, so it looks like they navigated it relatively cleanly.
Yeah, I think it was maybe just drivers cutting the chicane through there like Boonstra did. And, yeah, it looks like Rose and Maxwell may be swapping positions there in P4 and P5. Ooh, and Rose went a little bit wide.
I've seen a big incident. Eduardo Rodriguez and one other went off. We'll take that in the picture-in-picture and see what's gone on in the back of the pack there. But, of course, Eduardo Rodriguez, a driver who is certainly hoping to have a little bit of movement up the field into the second. He takes a hit from behind, caused a little bit of a knock-on effect, and that's 2 drivers off the circuit.
Yeah, not a huge incident, but yeah, that's gonna hurt their races. That's tough.
By the looks of things, though, it might not be a whole lot of damage. So with the pit window now being open,
I don't think
still got very real odds getting back into it.
We did have one taker, Matt Morrison, pitted, and Stefani's still in the pits. Did not take the start at all, even from the pit lane.
Interesting story there.
Wow, the top 3 checked out. 3-second gap to Maxwell. Yeah, Maxwell and Rose were scrapping there in the second sector, so, but that's a huge gap.
And Maxwell going to be under attack, I guess, limitedly from behind. Rose was one of the ones we were talking about who had a phenomenal qualifying per their standards from what we've seen out of them so far this season. So Maxwell navigating past fairly quickly is going to be a good look for them as they start to pull away now. That second chicane not being so kind to the Mercedes of Justin Rose. And so a gap will start to form there a little bit. Johnston and Adams and Weitzcarver, all 3 very close behind. And Selena Boonstra tailing Weitzcarver as well, are all going to be looking for some inkling of advantage. And Johnston has gone wide, as well as Curtis Adams. Contact between these 2 cars, I believe. We'll take that one in the background and see what's happened here. Out of the second chicane, turn 7 complex and in towards the hairpin. There must have been some sort of late braking or move attempted here.
Sorry, someone in chat is saying there's no game audio. And yeah, it's not... okay. You keep commentating, I'll figure this out.
Sure thing. Well, I mean, the story I just covered there was an unfortunate incident. But it did appear to collect a couple of cars and has been resolved. No spins, thankfully, for anybody in particular. I am noticing Mike Gino starting to close up a little bit on Christian Lorenzo in the front of the field. Big train, though, behind Robbie Totti in 9th, all the way down towards 20th. Each and every driver within 1 second of the driver in front. I feel like, though, Gino is just the one I'm watching out for here, putting a consistent, solid pressure on Lorenzo as time goes on. But like I've said, It's a difficult track to overtake on. So I have really low expectations in terms of closing this gap and getting the move done soon. Although he's thinking about it into the hairpin up in front of the cam you've got right there with Justin Rose. But Gino is going to have to drop out of that one. Thinks better of it. And now a bit more of leeway for Lorenzo out in front. And I mean, Gino has been a massive pace leader, frequently getting out in front of the field by a significant margin. So the more time they lose behind Lorenzo is the more potential for somebody else to catch back up and make a move happen. I'm looking further down the field as well. Channing made a move on Hacksaw. They're up into 11th. Hacksaw is, that is to say. So a nice little maneuver further down the field. Got a yellow flag. Barker has gone off. Exit of turn 1, entry turn 2. That allows Toddy and Sullivan on through. Maybe a little bit of damage on the front quarter, the front left quarter there for Barker. But they will stay in the race. A couple of positions lost, certainly some time, maybe some aero balance, but they're not out of it just yet, so they'll have to make a bit of a recovery. We talked about, prior to the race start, Barker, one of the drivers who made a fairly good qualifying session here in Zolder. A top 10 finish would certainly be a quality mark on their record for the season. Still trying to get the audio issues sorted for everybody spectating right now. Adam is hard at work on the back end, God bless his soul, as we try to get all of that figured out. And we can get you right back into the racing action, all things considered. So do bear with us on that front. We're only 6 minutes into the race. I trust we'll have this sorted in no time at all. God willing, that is. White's Carver into the pits now. Is going to be taking their mandatory pit stop. I believe a couple of other cars might have dipped into the pits as well. I'm seeing a lot of motion in the back. It is going to be Barker into the pits, potentially with some damage. So they're going to be dipping out, and of course with the 1 liter mandatory fuel take, it's going to be a relatively short pit stop for this race. Rodriguez also in the pits, I might add. Relatively short pit stop. They're not likely to run into traffic from behind on their pit exit. Get that pit out of the way and try to run their own race. I would not necessarily be surprised to see Gino take that strategy with the early pit as well, as they are currently sitting behind Christian Lorenzo. But on the last lap, and on their best lap, I might add, Lorenzo was only half a tenth slower than Mike Gino, running a 1:29.657. The best lap of the race right now is Noel Maxwell with a 1:28.932. Their last lap, actually, as they look to make inroads up against Jess Osborne, who is currently in 3rd place, fighting to stay on that podium position. Selena Boonstra, their teammate, is behind about 4 seconds to Maxwell ahead. I'm noticing a lot of red laps on my race control. A valid note, considering we do know track limits here can be a little bit of a stickler. So drivers getting a little bit overeager on that could result in some drive-through penalties as the race goes on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else to try. I'll keep trying, but I think we focus on the on-track action and hope we can get this resolved.
Well, if you're going to focus on on-track action, you might as well stick with Maxwell here, because this is the biggest fight that we've got going on right now. 2 tenths up behind Jess.
Yeah, Maxwell really charged up to those top 3. Wow.
He's really going to go for it into the first chicane. He's just about afforded there. Way to stick it up, though. Really get the elbows out there from Jess.
Yeah, well done by both drivers to keep it clean through there. That's a very tough corner to go side by side through.
Mighty impressive. So we continue on, and I did notice, you'll see on the left side of your screen, White Scarver, Morrison, Barker have all cleared their mandatory pit stops along with Rodriguez. So they are currently running a bit of a race of their own. Maxwell looking to get the move done here, and Will into the hairpin. Very nicely done into the inside. Now it's going to be on Osborne to try to chase this one down, maybe towards the third chicane. They've got a bit of a run here against the Ferrari, way out to the outside. Maxwell will be able to hold on to the position. Nicely done.
Very well done. Yeah, Gino is starting to battle with Lorenzo now.
Take the bonnet cam for Gino up in my picture-in-picture if you want to throw that on up. Give the viewers a little bit of an idea of what's going on there. I'm noticing some motion in the back. Adams and Wicks both just lost position. I believe they're on into the pits. Adams into the pits.
Yeah, and I don't... Ooh, getting wide there by Gino.
Just a little bit, though.
Let's go back to Osborne and battle with Maxwell. And I don't believe we've brought up... It is a 37-second, roughly, pit time loss tonight with taking the 1 liter of fuel.
Can't say I'm on top of that. Well, never really am, but either way.
Well, at least it's not like last race where we're trying to figure out who is and isn't taking tires and having to do math.
Commentator's worst nightmare. Well and truly. There's a reason why caster math has been a massive meme in just about every facet of esports ever. So, ooh, Gino with a little bit of a wobble there. Exit of the third chicane. Really struggling to keep his Mercedes under control and on the track. I wonder if they're just trying to push themselves to get up behind Lorenzo right about now. They have been pulling away, developing a little bit of a gap here and again. Gino's still with them, don't get me wrong, but Maxwell behind is also starting to make inroads. Got past Osborne a little bit ago, and now only 2 seconds behind second place.
And Maxwell has the fastest lap of the race, if you haven't already mentioned that. I don't remember hearing that at a 28.9.
Yeah. That was a while ago now, but still ran a 29.31, which on their last lap, that is to say, which was faster than both Lorenzo and Gino.
Yeah.
Of course, Gino did have a bit of a wiggle there at the third chicane on their last lap. So take that how you will. Look further back the field, though. We get on board with Vincent in 16th, chasing down Scott Fisher, who has moved up into 15th place. Of course, there have been a couple of pits out from in front, but Fisher, who had a fairly unimpressive qualifying in this session. And as soon as I get on board with Vincent, they take it a little bit wide on the entry to the second chicane there, and they're going to lose all that time that they're looking for. So I'll hop over to Hacksaw up behind Cockcroft right now, about a half second into the hairpin.
Yeah, and just looking at the big movers so far, you have Robbie, Toddy, Harrison Channing both up 6 positions. Pat Cockcroft up 8 to 11th. KB Smith up to 13th after their poor qualifying by their standards. And then, then we have our early pitters as well. We won't mention their drop positions because that doesn't really count at the moment. But yeah, Maxwell up 3 to P3, just a great race so far.
Ferrari managed to break away from me at Brands Hatch, to play that for free. It was Roy K who I was trying to battle with, and that battle did not last long, let me tell you. And it looks like we're starting to make a lot of progress here, not only against Gino, but against the leader as well. A 1:28.902, fastest lap of the race on the last lap for Noel Maxwell, who is looking like they might, before long, be the leader of this race. Give it 5 or 6 laps, and that could very well be the scenario that we're looking at.
Yeah, Maxwell is just on a charge right now. I'm so impressed. I mean, just closing in on the top 2.
Got Felker into the wall.
Oh.
Here, I'll take on the picture-in-picture here. This looks like
it's going to be the
entry into the first. Yeah, exit of the first chicane. More likely than not. We'll see what happens there. Ooh, that's not what I was expecting.
No.
But, the result is the result, as you saw, and I believe they're out of the server. Felker, I believe that might tack up to a retirement.
That looked an odd one because they took the first part of the chicane somewhat normally and then just steered left into the wall. So I don't know if that was maybe a disconnect or a hardware failure or what.
I'm going to go back 22 seconds on the PIP where I believe Maxwell took Gino on the outside of turn 1.
Wow. Maxwell is just driving by everyone right now. This is incredible.
And now get on board with Osborne.
Yeah.
Yeah, Osborne right up behind Gino, I believe, might have just gone
Does Gino have an issue?
I don't know. That Mercedes certainly isn't as nimble through the corners. I know that. The straight line speed has always been its forte in comparison to some other cars. But it just seems to be lacking a little bit in the performance through the corners, potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd think if Gino had some sort of issue, maybe pressure loss or something like that, that they would come in. But yeah, this is very uncharacteristic for what we've seen.
We're going to stay on board with Maxwell. Presently speaking, I do note that White Scarver is into the pits again. Osborne a little bit wide there, trying to chase down Gino. And eventually, something's got to bite for Mike. 3-time race winner consecutively in the last 3 weeks, respectively. Who has now lost a massive gap. Yeah, is not holding this together nearly as much as you would have expected. And Gino having to control a little bit of a slide here, and Osborne is going to capitalize. Beautiful exit there through turn 3 from Jess Osborne, and they're up into 3rd.
I wonder if Gino's maybe the tires aren't in the operating temperature. It looks like they're driving on ice almost. This is very strange.
Boonstra's already right up behind Gino as well. That mistake came at a significant cost. Had to let Osborne through, and now Boonstra has closed up on the gap.
Yeah. I mean, the way things are going, you have to expect Boonstra is going to get by sometime in the next lap or so.
Well, that's huge! Huge move for Gino! And there's another car through. Absolutely nothing to be done.
Man.
Lost the rear end off of the curb. Maybe just a little bit too much wobble there. Some way, shape, or form, and Boonstra easily made it through there.
Yeah, this is not the Mike Gino that we've seen. Something is not right, whether it's with the car or something else. It's just, yeah, this is not what I expected at all.
I don't think anybody expected this.
No.
Yeah, Gino's going to have to do something about this. They're already a second behind, and Justin Rose now might have a bit of a peek up towards what was our pole sitter, and now down into position 5, only 15 and then some change minutes into this 60-minute race. I mean, if this pattern continues, it's certainly going to be a sad showing for Ghost Rider Racing on this go-around.
Yeah.
Ooh, I caught that just in time. Oh, that was a big turn 2 dive. Flo was trying to get up on the inside of Vincent. I'll take that one back a little bit here so you can get some context on that one. But trying to go in for the overtake. And I believe there was a bit of a shake there for Vincent. Flo tried to stick it up the inside, and I don't know how to call that. But
that's a tough one. Almost just looks like a racing incident.
Well, a racing incident that's going to cost them both sorely. I believe they lost both of them 2 or 3 positions on that. So
Rose is, yeah, we're on the same page. Here, you can stay on that, and I'm going to go to Maxwell, who has got it within a second of Lorenzo.
Gino, I think, tired of being overtaken and losing loads of time, pulls into the pits.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that pit stop time, and maybe there's damage we didn't see, or yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was tire pressures.
Could have been.
And maybe the reason Gino didn't pit it immediately is because they had to change the strategy on their MFD.
Yep, it's very possible.
I'll keep an eye on that, because it's at a stage in the race where they're not guaranteed to come out in clean air. They're just rolling into their pit box now. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it. It looks like the pit straight is quite clear for now.
Yeah.
And he's on his way.
Yeah, I think he's going to come out in some pretty clean air, which could be good and doesn't have to worry about defending and can just put in some good consistent laps. So yeah, that's definitely doesn't seem like a tire change, and the time in pit stop for 6 seconds, not abnormally long for only taking 1 liter of fuel. So yeah, doesn't seem like there was any damage fixed.
What was the time loss, though, sum total for Gino?
The total was 41, so it's smidge long. So 37 is the optimal time, and we'll never expect anyone to be perfect on that. So it seems like most drivers are around the 40 to 42 seconds, so that seems like that'll be about the normal amount of time.
Rose has held their position fairly well. It was a story we were tracking before the start of the race. Qualified quite well for themselves and currently sitting in P5 here 20 minutes in, 1/3 of the race finished.
Yeah, and Robbie Toddy's giving Rose a bit of trouble here, but both of them Mercedes, so no one really has an advantage there.
Still just waiting to see if Maxwell can get a grasp on Lorenzo.
Yeah, it keeps bouncing from a second, then goes up to maybe down to around 0.7, then back to a second, so...
Small trains, though, in the midfield. Not really a whole lot going on in terms of action explicitly. Some drivers potentially getting their nose up on the inside towards a couple of others, particularly KB Smith right now, about a half second behind Pat Cockcroft, who themselves behind Hacksaw by about a half second. Maxwell closing this gap down to, well, speaking of, a half second, a very mighty last lap, gaining 2/10 on the leader. Johnston into the pits, I believe, yep. Well, things starting to settle down here.
Yeah, things starting to spread out. I feel like we've had 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like 9, 10, including Johnston Pitter so far, so a little less than half the field.
If you drop my picture-in-picture just for a moment, we'll see who all has pitted so far. It's Gino, leader of the drivers who have pitted, which if White's Carver, I believe, had to go in for a second time because they got some damage off screen. So they otherwise would be potentially challenging up there. Johnston just now clearing their mandatory pit stop as well. So we'll see where they come out.
Yeah, looks like behind Rodriguez, so at the at the end of the cars that have pitted so far, excluding White's Carver.
Ooh. Bring up Maxwell. Looks like they're going for a move here. Potentially into turn 2. They got a really good run on Lorenzo. Exit of turn 1.
Man.
Still a little bit of a battle, though. I mean, Lorenzo right now, though, you got to be shaking in your boots right about now. I mean, the McLaren is good, but I can speak from experience when I say that the Ferrari is quite powerful in this matchup. Gonna try to be later on the brakes, up the inside, and space not quite afforded there. Forrest a little bit wide in the chicane, but Maxwell gains no advantage. That's just some tough battling, and I respect it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that from either driver.
Wasn't that good? I mean, if it would have been a little bit more of that curb on the inside, on the exit for Lorenzo, might have been a different story.
Yeah.
But they continue to go at it.
Yeah, we're getting a battle for the lead. Maybe it wasn't the battle we expected, but we're getting a battle. And I mean, Osborne is sneaking up on him, and Boonster's not too far behind either.
Maxwell, yeah, right now being... Oh, this is going to be huge.
That was Osborne
Looking for
in
the
the
switchback.
pits.
A little bit of a bump there. Maxwell was looking for the switchback. I like that idea. Now it's up to Lorenzo to try to defend this some way, somehow. But I feel like no matter which way you go, Maxwell is going to have something onto the outside. And no, the 51 keeps it ahead somehow, but now surely the apex is going to belong to Maxwell, pushes it in, and contact is made, but they both keep pointing the same direction. Neither driver wants to give up on this fight, and I can't help but feel like if you're the 51 right now, you're going to have to give, and that might just be it. Maxwell
They're going to hold it.
On the outside, onto the gravel, some speed lost, and there finally the battle ends. That was rough.
Great driving from the both of them there, but I can't just... Maxwell's just charging through the field. This is incredible.
I mean, you talked about Boonstra coming up behind as well. I mean, Lorenzo holding up Maxwell, who clearly has very strong pace. And now Boonstra is going to have a bit of a chore to try to catch up to Maxwell in some total. Of course, you have to make away with P2 first, but that's going to be loads of time for that prancing horse to get away.
So while P1 and P2 were fighting, and they both did laps in the high 31s, Jess Osborne pitted, came out, and is in very clean air for going to be a while, and then is our leader of the drivers that have pitted. So if Lorenzo catches back up to Maxwell and they start fighting again, this could be Jess Osborne's race.
Maxwell would have to make a mistake, though, and frankly, Maxwell looks locked in right about now.
Yeah, but Lorenzo's not falling off, though.
No, it is. I've heard it said, particularly, that it's a little bit easier to follow than be followed, and I think that this is a prime example of that. Maxwell was putting in amazing laps. And, you can't stress that enough. Of course, when your best lap of the race...
a little wide! Lorenzo's going to get through.
This is tough. Yeah, over onto the racing line. Beautiful cut.
Oh, but Lorenzo broke too late. Beholds it. Whew.
I mean, to be fair, if you're going to take a track limits warning, that might have been the place to do it. Because you get that advantage out into first place. I mean, that might be the highest quality track limits violation you will ever see, potentially.
It certainly didn't hurt Lorenzo that much there, but yeah. And back to your point about following drivers, yes, sometimes being able to use a faster driver as a reference can really be very helpful.
We can see where they're making mistakes specifically, and it makes it very, very easy to try to capitalize.
Yeah, but you can also get a really good look at what they're maybe doing different to you and what you can improve upon and use them as a brake reference instead of maybe track markers and things like that.
Last lap. Maxwell, I believe, Maxwell, of course, having lost the position, 136.52 versus the 129.5 of Lorenzo. So really no surprises when you look at it from that point of view. But again, I do very much like how that Ferrari looks in the straights. If you get a very slightly better exit, the McLaren doesn't really seem to have any ability to get away. That slipstream, not terribly powerful, but certainly noticeable in particular circumstances. This might be one of them. And Selena is starting to close up behind. The gap between these three cars now about equivalent.
Yeah, I wonder if Selena follows their teammates' lead and pits here on this lap.
I wouldn't call that an unwise decision. Maxwell's got a mega run here.
Oh, that's ambitious! Oh, no! Oh, and then... Oh...
That was an optimistic-looking move. I'm going to take that one back from the bonnet cam here for Maxwell, and we'll see if we can get another look at that from their perspective. Later on the brakes, sends it up the inside. I think that's going to be... I'm sorry to say it. I think that's Maxwell's fault.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on that one.
Late
and
move.
Lorenzo ducks into the pits, probably the right call there.
Well, either way, it's Maxwell into the lead. I don't think there was any damage surely sustained from that, so now it's up to Boonstra to try to get this gap together, and that does also close up the back of the field a little bit, or excuse me, I guess the remainder of the field a little bit. Justin Rose 6.8 seconds behind, though. They're not going to have to worry about that for some time, well, if ever.
Yeah, and we'll see where Lorenzo comes out in relation to Osborne. I think Osborne's going to blast past. Yep, and they do. That's you hate to see that for Lorenzo.
But at this point, I feel like you know you have solid pace, head down.
Yep.
And they can probably bring the fight to Osborne at some stage of this race, luck permitting. I mean, it's certainly not the scenario you wanted to be in.
Oh, and Lorenzo picked up a stop-and-go 30. Oh, no. Oh. Man, that just went from bad to worse.
Overtaken by Barker as well. Barker gets in front.
Yeah.
Who's taking their pit, so that is 4 position. As if it mattered at this point, if you're Lorenzo, hands on head. Or, well, I mean, figuratively speaking, I hope they're on the wheel. But Boonstra right now up against Maxwell trying to make this move happen. And we have seen some aggressive postures from this racer in the past, particularly in Japan, but getting very impatient in the midfield. I am looking forward to seeing what comes out of this battle for P1.
So I do have to say, right now, all things being even, Jess Osborne looks like they're going to take the lead of this race after everyone pits. But so much left to happen. Is Osborne going to catch some traffic here soon? We're going to have to wait and see.
We're having a little bit of a lousy take of that chicane in comparison to what could have been. Still up on the back of the car.
Cockcroft. Let's I feel like we've really been on those top two for a while. Let's go around the field a little bit.
Toddy into the pits, if I'm seeing this correctly.
I believe you're correct.
Actually, I believe it was Toddy just out of the pits.
Yep.
Lost position to Mike Gino in front, but only by a second, and Mike Gino has been struggling a little bit. Toddy has had some decent pace.
Yeah, I can't remember where they're at before they were pitted, but I believe was definitely in the top 10. Ooh.
I mean, just on the outlap here, gaining 5/10 in Sector 1. This does beg the question again, what is going on with Mike Gino? But that's a story, I think, for another time. Just have to focus on, like we said for Christian, head down, make it happen. Although I feel like for Christian it might be less so the circumstance here with that massive penalty hanging over their head. Must have been speeding in the pit lane. And
yeah, that's really the only way to get a stop and go 30. Do you have the leaders on the picture-in-picture? I'll bring that up if you do.
I'll take the bonnet here for Selena.
Yeah. We'll put that there. We don't want to completely take our eye off of that. I'm going to shoot over to Channing.
Hang on. I saw a yellow flag for Rodriguez. I'm going to skip that back 15 seconds real fast and just see what that was.
Oh.
Oh, and into the wall. That's painful. It didn't look like it was too bad on the damage side, but still going to affect them.
No, and I believe Rodriguez is pitted, so they'll stay out on that. And unless it ended up being too bad, but I don't think it'll be too much.
Take Toddy coming up behind Gino. Ooh, Maxwell's into the pits, and Boonstra was using Maxwell as a braking reference, and so ran wide at the third chicane. That's going to be about a second of lap time down for Boonstra. Yeah, about a second lost because Boonstra was watching the car in front of who broke much later as they were entering the pits.
Yeah, we hadn't mentioned that. It is a tricky entrance, especially if you're planning on pitting and you're following someone. It's you have to be really careful to not run into the back of someone.
We'll allow Boonstra some space to try to make inroads.
I think let's shoot over to Osborne, who has caught Wicks, but we'll see where Maxwell comes out in relation. Oh, Osborne should have Maxwell easy.
Oh, yeah. No questions asked there.
I'm
But
not
Osborne being
sure.
caught up behind faster traffic, or excuse me, I would say slower traffic here, should allow an opportunity for Maxwell
And I
to at
think
least get back into the mix.
I think that was maybe Lorenzo that came out in front of Wicks, who has not pitted. And lets Osborne by. Yeah, it's not a Wicks race right now. Good sportsmanship by Wicks. Yep, that was Lorenzo.
Yeah. Blue flagged right now.
Yeah, that would have been Lorenzo serving the stop and go 30.
Back on board here with Todd. He's still up behind Gino.
And I'm going to go to KB Smith, who is still on the back of Hacksaw. Hacksaw also has a stop and go 30, so yeah, that's that won't be a battle for long.
Boonstra's in the pits right now.
All right.
Get the helicam there.
Oh, I clicked.
Keep an eye on the track map. It's Boonstra versus...
All right. I'm going to go back to Robbie Toddy.
Versus the 92, I believe. Osborne should have this pretty well bagged for the pit stop.
Oh, they keep moving on me. Here we go. Yeah, that has it very easy.
Oh, Maxwell's right there. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my. Glad I had that on the helicam. Scott Fisher was in the pits there for a second. I'm going to get on board here with Maxwell, who has made their presence known on the inside of a couple of cars so far this race. We'll see if they're able to sneak up the inside of Boonstra here before long.
Yeah, the way Maxwell's driven, you have to think this is... If Maxwell can't get by, this is going to be a battle for the rest of the race.
I'm looking here. It's Boonstra right now in second place provisionally against Osborne, who is roughly 6 seconds down the road. Ooh, a little bit wide there from Maxwell. So right now, Maxwell's in a very close battle
Someone else has
right
picked
now.
up a stop and go 30.
What in the world? Who is...
Who is that? That's Fisher got one. Wow.
Well, can't say this race hasn't been entertaining. The battles have been somewhat few and far between in terms of variety, but we've had leaders and trailers very, very close up next to each other right at the top, which I have to commend these drivers on. I mean, way to keep it close. And then the stop and goes have really been mixing it up, along with a couple of contacts here and again. So yeah, I'd say this has been a pretty entertaining race.
Oh, that's certainly one thing these D4 races haven't lacked in is entertainment.
I thought we were going to be in for a bit of a snoozer when I saw a lot of white and ACC race control at about the 15-minute mark. That certainly did not pan out. Ooh, Barker. Hang on. I see a 0-second gap there. I'm going to take that. And Barker into turn 4. He's going to make a move stick against Harrison Channing. Oh, whoa, a little bit of a wiggle. Will they be able to make a stick? Now down the straight. And no, the 606 blasts on by.
Yeah, nicely done by Channing. Oh!
I was thinking about it for a second, but they thought better of it, which that's the only word for it.
Yeah, so we still have 4 drivers yet to pit. Rose, Sullivan, Cockcroft, and Wicks. Just Osborne is the provisional leader of the race since they are in front and have pitted in P4. And yeah, now Boonstra is caught up to Wicks as well. And I believe Wicks let
into the pits.
Oh, Wicks pitted. Yeah, and Boonstra's put a little bit of a gap on Maxwell too. It's 1.6 seconds.
So right now, because Lorenzo received that stop and go 30, they got spun around as well, took them out of the scenario. Maxwell ends up losing out in the pit stop. I see a yellow flag here from Morrison, who has gone off circuit. I'm going to roll that back a little bit. It looked like it was exit of turn 1. entry turn 2. But, I mean, looking at this, right now, it's Osborne and Boonstra, teammates in the lead of the Constructors, yet just losing it a little bit there.
Ooh, that was a
Turn
big
1.
hit.
Yeah, that's going to be lots of damage. But they're looking very, very solid. I mean, this is a team that is, with a 1-2 here, they'll pretty much have run away with this season.
Yeah, but what were they? I can't remember how far they were up on P2, but a 1-2 finish is going to just put their mark on this championship. And it's not going to win it for them, but it's going to put them in a very, very, very good position.
Justin Rose out front as well. I mean, this is a someone we haven't really had to say the name of too frequently because they've had a relatively clean race, lost a position or two at the opening laps, but from there have run fairly solidly, so no complaints on my part for Justin Rose. Fantastic outing for them so far. They currently sit in P1. They have not fulfilled their mandatory pit, as you can see, with Sullivan behind, and Cockcroft behind them as well. I mean, these are like the top 3 right now. Of course, not having fulfilled their pit stops, but they're all having a fairly quality race in so far. We'll have to see where they come out after the pit stop.
Yeah, Rose started P4. Right now, after they pit, they'll come out in front of Gino, and considering the 2 cars behind them, I believe that would put them in P5, which you don't like losing a position, but you're not going to complain too hard about a P5.
Surely not. Further down the field, I'm going to move on to the...
Maxwell's caught back up to Boonstra. 0.8 seconds.
I'm moving further back the field here on the PIP. Ronflo, Eric Rodriguez, and Wicks all locked in battle, but yes, Barker on the back of Channing as well is where I just was, but we'll keep on board that podium finisher potentially. I mean, Maxwell has had a bit of a varied race here. I mean, had amazing pace from the outset, starting in 6th, if memory serves, and moving up all the way into the race lead at one point, having a bit of an error, letting Lorenzo back past, and then having an incident at the hairpin. Lorenzo now out of the picture, though, and they're on for a podium spot, if not more, right now, as Cockcroft dips into the pits. I don't know what happened with the battle I was spectating, but the gap has since grown from about a half second into a second between all of them. So I guess that's the end of that.
Just continues our streak of switching to stuff, and it. Hey, but the gap closed back up.
Yeah, Johnston, I'm watching up behind KB Smith. Curtis Adams and Smith both having a bit of a recovery after a, I would say, slightly lackluster qualifying.
I think we're going to have a little... Oh, nope, I think Adams cleared Cockcroft. Looked like they were going to be really close on the exit there, but not so.
So we still only have Rose and Sullivan to fulfill their mandatory pit stops, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The remainder of the grid is hidden behind the PIP there. We'll have to change that at some point.
And
but
still Sullivan and Rose should come out in front of Gino. So yeah, that's as far as pitting goes, that'll be the last action we see, and at this point, I expect both of them to go until the next to last or the last lap.
Well, we've got about 17 minutes left in the race.
Plenty of action to go. Who knows what might happen?
I mean, let's talk about predictions. I see that, like I mentioned, Adams, Smith, Cockcroft, all moving up.
Yeah.
Fairly well. I thought Barker was going to be under some pressure, and they were, but they managed to hold it together. So props there. Robbie Toddy moving well up the field. I think the only thing that truly has happened that I didn't expect at all is, number one, Mike Gino falling well out of favor from P1 into 6 right now. Not at all indicated by the pace that we saw in qualifying. As let's make sure we're on board with Maxwell. I think that's starting to come to a little bit of a culmination. I'm going to get on board with Flo on my cam as well. But then also Lorenzo, I think that was the biggest surprise. He's also had, I mean, we talk about Maxwell having a crazy race. Lorenzo has had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's... You can recover from the contact and the spin, and it would be difficult, but Yeah, the stop and go 30, it's just a race killer, and you absolutely feel for Lorenzo there, because you just have to think if that spin doesn't happen, probably doesn't pit, and whatever happened for the stop and go 30 to happen probably doesn't happen. Just, when something happens like that and you just make another mistake and then another mistake and it just snowballs, and yeah, that's not the Lorenzo we've seen.
Speaking of, I'm taking a replay right now. It was Scott Fisher who went off entry of the first chicane there, so not a good look for them, who is themselves having a fairly disappointing race. I mean, talk about, Fisher Lorenzo Motorsport, who was a team we were talking about near the top of the standings.
Yep.
With the consistent performances that they've had, this has been a disaster of an outing so far. I saw a white yellow flag for Wicks a little bit ago, so I'll see if I can't catch that. And a spin exit of the first chicane. We expected some carnage there, and there you have it. There's a lot that's happened so far. Not a lot of it has been expected necessarily. For some, mighty improvements insofar. Of course, there's still a quarter of the race remaining. For others, it has been just so lousy. I mean,
we knew this was going to be a tricky race with the cool conditions. I mean, this is Boonster out wide.
We'll see though. Yep. I think Maxwell's probably having some flashbacks.
Almost pushing Boonstra out of the exit.
I'm on board with Whitescarver up behind Vincent right now for 18th place. Not a whole lot of points on the line, but points nonetheless. And Maxwell, my goodness, getting very aggressive. Going to try and potentially make this switchback happen, but there's not really a whole lot of space to get out wide there on the second corner of that last chicane. Maybe looking into turn one, will back out of it. I would think wisely. There's not a whole lot of space that you can go up the inside, and then tips away onto the gravel. That's going to end that.
Yeah, it was looking like Maxwell's going to get a really good run out of turn one there and just tip the tires into the gravel.
Whitescarver against Vincent into that first chicane, and nicely done.
Yeah, Whitescarver having to take the extra pit, which we assume for damage, but recovering decently well.
Adams up about 5/10 behind Ryan Barker. Again, a driver who's had a fairly good performance so far, has been consistently in the midfield, and right now in 10th position. Harrison Channing just ahead of them. Morrison in 8th as well. So a couple of drivers that we don't necessarily see frequent the top 10 spots, but are consistently battling, I would say, in the the 10th to 15th slots, starting to make some moves here on Circuit Zolder. So impressive race for the three of them. Like I said, we haven't really said their names too frequently because there's been a whole lot of action elsewhere, but it's worth saying. Same as we mentioned for Justin Rose, for Sullivan out in front right now, both who have yet to take their pit stop.
Yeah, man, Maxwell is just hustling that Ferrari.
The gap between Boonstra and Osborne, about 6 seconds.
Boonstra goes wide.
That's going to be huge. Boonstra has to take it on the inside here, but if Maxwell can carry a little bit more speed, it doesn't quite look like it. They might still be able to make a run here down into that first chicane, but it's not necessarily a prime overtaking spot.
No, it isn't. It has to be a pretty big mistake to get through there. You just have to get way better drive out of turn one. It's just way too short of a straight. Man, Maxwell is so clean. I mean, Boonstra as well, so clean through that first chicane.
Yeah, two major battles up right now. It's Maxwell following Boonstra on the main screen, and then on the small one in the bottom left-hand corner, Adams right now against Barker, competing for 10th position. These might be the last couple of moves that you see in the standings for the remainder of the race. I guess a couple of other small gaps. Channing 1.4 behind Morrison. 1.9 is the gap between Channing and Barker behind. KB Smith following Johnston. 13th and 14th is Johnston being followed by KB Smith, I should say, about 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, I think something to note as well, Mike Gino is driving into the pit window of Rose and Sullivan. seems to have recovered a little bit, putting in pretty consistent times with the rest of the field. So that's a good recovery by Gino. Not going to get their 4th in a row, but could be up for a P4, which, I mean, still very good. Oh, Booster wide.
He's got to be careful. It's not the first time that we've seen Selena get a little bit of, how you say, friendly with the outside or the inside of the circuit. Ooh, Adams in the PIP. Well off the track there. Ooh, I thought I saw Boonstra take a little bit of a hit there for a second, but it was just an aggressive turn in, and Maxwell losing a lot of time. Did we miss? I'm gonna go take that back real fast just to see.
Yeah.
What exactly happened there?
Oh,
tried for a move. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, had a little look and then thought better of it, and yeah, that's one of those where the half move there is not good. You have to go for it or not go for it, and that was certainly a situation to not go for it. So good call by Maxwell to not send it, but gonna have to make that time back up.
On board now with Channing up behind teammate Morrison in front. If I'm to believe the liveries, so they'll have a fairly solid finish in their right. Sullivan's in the pits now.
Whoa. Okay.
What's happened? What did I miss?
Oh, when you changed cams, I saw them drop the car, and as soon as I looked over, and that threw me off for a second. I thought it was a car returning to the garage, and I was like, "Whoa!" Nope. Just me.
Behind Toddy by about 3 seconds, so Sullivan's got some space.
Channing is back on the rear of Morrison.
So I thought they were teammates by looking at the decals, but I might be wrong. I'll have to double check that.
Yeah,
I'm always wrong on these things.
Well,
so.
they look the same on yours, but they aren't the same on.
I see that.
So yeah, one of them has the Valvoline livery, and maybe whoever made the livery used. I don't know.
Oh, Scott Fisher's gone off again.
Oh man, one to forget for Scott.
One to forget for their team. I know we talked about this. Tipped a wheel onto the grass on the outside.
Yeah,
now the train's starting to form here.
Yeah, Adams is cruising up on the back of this as well.
Which, worth noting that Maxwell has lost Boonstra a little bit. 1 second and 2/10 behind now. So that's been an interesting development.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that gap, and if it closes back up, we'll have to shoot back over to it.
Let me see here. It's Morrison and Channing. They are not on the same team.
Someone just got a drive-through. That's Rodriguez. Oh. Ooh.
So yeah, unsure why they are the same or at least similar liveries on my little picture-in-picture, but we're just going to ignore that.
Yeah,
I'm just going to tack that up to an awesome sim racing kind of.
It sometimes when people make liveries outside of the game, they can use an end-game livery as the underlying template, so it doesn't show up as all black or all white or all carbon fiber. So that could be what we're seeing.
Rodriguez in the pits for that drive-through.
Oh man, tough 2 races back for Rodriguez.
That promotes White's car position. I'm sure they'll be happy about that. Up in the 17th place, but
yeah. Oh no, this isn't going to end well. Ooh, how did that not end in contact? Wow, I'm going to
take that back.
Run
I want to see what in the
Barker.
world.
I think Barker maybe saw it coming and just stayed wide. Yep, that's exactly what happened. Very good awareness by Barker.
I'm sure that would have been much worse for Adams as well if they had
Yeah.
speared the side of the BMW there.
Absolutely. Channing back to half a second behind Morrison.
Lorenzo's trying to make up positions here behind Vincent, all the way down in 18th place, the battle for 18th that I've got right now. Lorenzo, who has a story to tell. They're friends and family after this one is over.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, every point still counts. Lorenzo and Fisher, they're not going to be completely out of the fight for the team championship, but they're definitely going to be on the back foot. And I believe that is Lorenzo letting Osborne or Boonstra through. I think it was
Boonstra, that is, the 35. Was Maxwell 1 second behind. So I'm going to take the TV cam.
Yeah, that gap's it's staying somewhat consistent, but maybe close back in as Boonstra's navigating through the blue flags.
Yeah, we'll get on board with Boonstra for that. This is the real key, is if they find any traffic through here.
I think that was Vincent letting Boonstra through.
And you can see in the back, Lorenzo's going to try to capitalize on the gap created by the blue flag, and I think just about getting... Oh, no! Oh, Lorenzo's gone off!
No.
I think there was contact between the two of them into the tire barrier.
Oh, no!
Massive impact for Lorenzo. That's going to be a race ender, I think.
Such a smart and wily move to try and make that happen, but...
You can see it here.
Oh,
no.
Vincent just tagged him. And I don't know if I've ever seen a car end up over there before. Oh, man.
Lorenzo is out of the race.
Yeah. Man, that's rough. From leading the race to ending in the barriers, and two incidents that really weren't their fault.
Not their fault, yeah. Lorenzo honestly has had an amazing race.
Yep.
If we're talking on pure merit, I think Lorenzo might be the best driver who was on circuit today.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen how this race would have shaken out with Lorenzo being able to maybe control this race from the front.
Rose is in the pits, I believe, coming out now.
Yep. Let's.
Gino's 4 seconds behind. I think Gino's going to get past here. 1 second. Coming out here at turn 2. And, just about. Gino is going to make it happen on the outside, but still trying to battle this one back is Justin Rose. For position here, fresh out of the pits, and Gino's gotten by.
Oh, man. Whew. So close. And, I mean, considering everything Gino's been through, P4 is a very, very good recovery drive. Man, why is Rose's BMW is... There we go. Oh, and Johnson got a drive-through.
I was wondering why they're in the pits. Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's been a story. It's been a story. My goodness.
Yeah, not necessarily a track you think of where you pick up a lot of track cuts, but that second chicane, it's so easy.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about that before the race start. I think even during qualifying, we were discussing... very close contact. Channing right up onto the back of Morrison.
Yeah, just a BMW train. And I'm going to go to Maxwell, who's starting to close back up on Boonstra. Maybe one last push from Maxwell here.
Yeah. Osborne eyeing up a race win here, barring any significant mistakes for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I haven't really mentioned Osborne in the last, probably 20 minutes, but just having a stellar drive.
Yeah, haven't had to. Like we said, I still think Lorenzo is my number one probably driver of the day, barring the fact that they had some of those incidents happen.
Yeah, because I think we have to remember that Osborne ducked into the pits that same lap Or maybe it was the lap after that incident happened and
It
really
was the same lap. Yeah.
capitalized on that. And yeah, that maybe caught, Maxwell was out of rhythm after that incident. And yeah.
I mean, it takes a mental toll.
It does. It does.
But specifically as well for Lorenzo, you go into the pits and you're probably more prone to making an error because you know that you have to recover.
Yep.
So you just a little bit more stressed about it. Right now, I'm still on board with Channing right up behind Morrison. Barker is there as well, and the leader is now on to the final lap of the race. Jess Osborne.
I think you're going to have to take that back in the picture-in-picture. I don't know if that was a bump or a late break.
We'll jump it back. See what happened. I was looking away at the time.
Oh, it was a dive. Oh. And a complete inversion of positions between those four cars. Unbelievable. Wow. But yeah, Maxwell is not going to give this up, but if Boonstra keeps it clean, you have to think this is going to be a 1-2 for the Porsches.
Which we have to reiterate would be a monstrous result for them. It's Jess Osborne is navigating through the second chicane right now.
Maxwell was so brave on the brakes there. Yeah, and then has to fall back. But Boonstra catches the grasp, but I think it's going to be okay.
Massive gap being developed. One more corner to go here for both Osborne and Boonstra now in victory formation here for Comic Racing Lunar Motorsports. What a phenomenal race it has been for them. I mean, they were able to capitalize on just about everything that they possibly could. 1-2, Maxwell in third.
Both of them give him a little wiggle. And well done. Let's catch some. We got still have a battle back here. Oh no, the smoke is getting in the way.
Adams will be in front of Channing. But for Sullivan, for Barker, for Morrison, quality drives. Toddy with a massive improvement. Justin Rose getting up there. Mike Gino finished in 4th place as well. Pat Cockcroft and KB Smith both with some mega improvements. I was about to say, I think Pat Cockcroft slowed down before, the gap was coming down there at the line.
Still have a few cars out on track. Runflow and Fisher aren't too far, but they're not on the same lap. Yeah, I think Johnson and Wicks will be our last two to cross the line. And 14th and 15th.
No heroics there. Incredible.
What a race.
Incredible and terrible all at the same time. I mean...
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. Felker retires. Lorenzo retires. Both drivers who had significant potential. I mean, we saw more so from Lorenzo than from Rodney Felker, but it's one of the racers that we expect to be making moves in the midfield. Curtis Adams, though, I mean, it feels like most of the stories here were of great success. And there were a couple of major failure, not necessarily at the fault of the drivers, I would argue. There were a couple of incidents, yes, where some went around on their own. I believe Scott Fisher and Eduardo Rodriguez particularly had some of those problems.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, there was some hard racing going on. I mean, we saw specifically, Gino was trying his hardest to make something happen and get out in front and stay out in front. Simply could not do it. Maxwell particularly was, I think, my aggressive driver of the day, and unfortunately that did result in the spin of the leader at one point. But apart from that, kept it fairly clean, and I mentioned that Lorenzo was probably my personal driver of the day. But failing that, I think Maxwell takes the cake. Starting from 6, and what could have been a P1 finish, if not for that incident. And of course, this is butterfly effect. This is, almost to the point of conspiracy theory. But who knows what would have happened from there? He had insane pace.
It almost looked like, especially in those early parts of the race, that Maxwell was almost driving a different class, was just catching huge chunks and passing people. And I mean, it was just incredible driving.
Ludicrous stuff. So we'll get here into the post-race interview, but before we do that, I just want to Santana, if you want to, you can go ahead and like browse through and take a look. But before we do that, I want to give a thank you to our affiliates, Track Racer. Experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. Use code SRATE at checkout to support us. Armamentario, a toolbox for Assetto Corsa Competizione that will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC. And to Go setups, premium esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. And yeah, it's been a story. Let's get the story from the drivers now. I see a couple of them in the chat that certainly we're gonna want to take a listen in with.
Let's grab our winner, I think.
Jess Osborne in the chat. Let's pull him in. My good friends, it's not the first time you've been in this chat, Jess, but here for the win of the race at Zolder. Tell me, what's going through your head right now? Did you expect this? And how do you feel about the 1-2?
Not at all was I expecting it. I was hoping for top 5, of course, with my, just based on quali. But yeah, it caught me by surprise. But honestly, I don't think this was my win. I think Noel Maxwell won it for me. And the only involvement I had in it was just letting him by on, what was it, like lap 6 or so without too much incident. And that worked out perfectly because he gave me the slip for a couple laps. And when he got out of my reach, he got tussling with Mike Gino, and that put Mike Gino right in my lap. So I got around him. Selena got around Gino as well. And then I saw it just all clicked to me about 30 minutes in. I saw that we were coming in the last 2 corners, and I saw them. I'm like, wait a minute, they're the perfect distance for me right now to send it into the pits. If I get any closer, I'd be held up wanting to pit. This is the moment, and I just got to pray for them to fight so much that I get the long con undercut on them, and it worked. I don't know how. Next thing I know, I pit. I'm all alone. I drive for a while, and next thing I know, Gino is like 10 seconds behind me after pitting, and then somebody else got a penalty, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that was.
Am I gonna win this?
That was Lorenzo. So Lorenzo and Maxwell had a tussle in the hairpin, and then Lorenzo pitted and got a stop and go 30.
Yeah, I highly recommend you go and watch the VOD back.
Oh, I will.
hashtag advert.
I usually have y'all on my other monitor and like play down low so I can hear what you're saying, but this time I was all focused. I had nobody in the Discord chat with me, no music, no YouTube stream playing. So yeah, I'll have to go play it back. But
Maybe
the focus paid off.
Maybe don't play it back.
Why is that?
Wait, why?
We lost ACC audio between qualifying and the race.
Oh, that is true. That was an unfortunate happenstance. Don't know really what went on there. But
we'll talk about that later.
The important part is we had our amazing voices over top of the racing action. So
and Jess drove an amazing race.
Thank you. You
certainly did. I mean, looking forward now, you guys clearly I think are going to have the Constructors' Championship pretty much in the palm of your hand if you can keep up with the consistent performances. I don't think you need too many more wins, but looking even at the Drivers' Championship, potentially with Gino finishing down in 4th, and still with the drop race having to be factored in, do you have any thoughts about potentially going for the number 1s? But I mean, the number 1 might be a little bit aggressive.
But only if we reschedule week 8. Why are we racing on New Year's Eve? I mean, practice race on New Year's Day and then real races the day after? That's madness. Maniacal. Diabolical.
I wonder if you could maybe like talk to somebody that maybe like works for SRA about potentially that schedule. But I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. I don't get paid enough to worry about all that stuff.
But yeah, that's your look into the future. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on an airplane during the last race, so that'll be my drop race. Yeah, unless something changes.
Talk about cutting track limits. I mean, if you're in a plane, you're just not even on the tarmac. Come on, this guy.
True.
Well, I mean, either way, a fantastic race for you. And for Selena, obviously, you continue to improve, I would suppose. What are your thoughts specifically about Mike Gino? He clearly struggled quite a bit. I mean, started on pole, lost it in the first corner, first lap, first corner. And did you kind of see a window of opportunity opening up for yourself at that point, or were you focused on where you were at the time?
Oh, I was mostly focused on keeping Justin Rose behind me. And then after the first lap, whoever else was stuck behind me, which fortunately happened because the top 4 of us kind of broke away pretty early. But yeah, after lap 1, I didn't really wasn't looking for opportunity. I was just holding to stay in the fight.
Well, stay in the fight you did. I really got nothing more. It was a clean race. We didn't really have to say your name a whole lot. I feel like you said for yourself, you made a very clean execution on the couple of things that you did have to execute on, which included being kind of like tactically overtaken by Gino. You didn't want to put up too much of a fight because you knew it would lose you the time. You pitted out at the perfect moment. You got the clean air. Realistically speaking, it sounds like you didn't have to do a whole lot of work other than just keep Justin Rose behind you near the start of the race, and then from then on, put in lap after lap of good laps, which you managed to do. So, no notes for me. Adam?
No, I just have to say you and Selena went from team consistency to just team podium. I mean, you guys have just been on a tear. And
we motivate each other. We don't want to let each other down.
Yeah, it's working. It's very obviously working. So yeah, great job to both of you.
Thank you.
Any last words, or should we let you go?
Just want to shout out my conglomerate, Comic Racing. And I want to shout out Pete's Coffee for being
get him out of here.
That I wake up.
No.
Gosh dang it. There he go. He can come back.
He can just reach it on his own.
Oh, I love this.
We're not having it.
I love this.
Not having it.
I love this so much.
All right, let's see. Who else we got in the chat? I'm going to bring in, how about, let's pull Maxwell. I want to hear his perspective.
Yeah.
For now, let's get this one in.
Position.
Oh, sorry, were you in the middle of a conversation there?
Yeah, we were having a conversation about Lorenzo's.
Oh, if you want to go
Lorenzo's
back,
unfortunate. Yeah,
we can
back.
pull you back in.
Just ping us and we'll bring you back in when you're done. How about that?
Okay, I'll ping you in a sec.
Cool. So let's see. I suppose that'll
Selena.
probably resolve itself fairly fast. Yeah,
let's hope Selena's not talking about the same thing.
Ah,
let's go for
Discord.
it. Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm trying to get her in, but the Discord won't work. Oh my goodness, it won't scroll up for me.
Here, I think I can.
Can you get it? Can you get it?
I've never done it before, so we'll see how it goes.
Hey.
Hello.
It worked.
Welcome to the booth again.
Thank you.
1-2 finish. You are still winless. I mean, how hard would it have been? How hard would it have been to say? Well, I think Jess wasn't in Discord with anybody, but I mean, would you still have accepted the win if Jess kind of paused at the line and waited for you to go across, or?
Honestly, I don't know. He definitely deserves the win. I haven't won at all yet, but I'm not sure about him. But he deserves the win. He had like really good qualifying and definitely deserves it. Team effort.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. If you and Jess swapped around in your qualifying positions, I'm fairly certain that you would have been able to take the win. Because it sounds like we just talked to Jess, and things really fell into place for Jess. You know, he mentioned letting Gino go past, not really putting up a whole lot of a fight, had a beautiful pit window open up right in front of him, and then when he came out of the pits, it was clean air. So basically a completely clean race. And I feel like if you were put in the same position, you probably would have been able to capitalize on the same circumstance. But you still did an amazing job to battle from where you were, a little bit further down the order. Tell us, though, I mean, like, up against Maxwell, who may or may not have, how you say, taken out the leader. What were you thinking at that point in time when you saw that incident at the hairpin?
Honestly, my initial thoughts was, since I was so close to Maxwell, I was just hoping that I wouldn't get involved, but unfortunately I did, because I was gonna go on the left side, but I saw Maxwell's nose sticking out, so I was like, okay, I can't really go that way. I probably could, but not really. But then Lorenzo, since he spun around, I was like in the midst of the crossfire of hitting him, so I was like, oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I think that was one of those where either way you went wasn't going to end perfectly, but yeah, I think contact there was inevitable just from the proximity of all three cars.
Yeah, there wasn't much that I could have done anyway, regardless, but it is what it is.
I mean, looking back on that though, do you think that if Christian Lorenzo had stayed in the fight, would you have been able to move up? Did you notice any potentially any change in Maxwell's driving after the fact? Because we did notice maybe a little bit of drop off in his lap time. You know, he seemed to be a little bit less aggressive, which is completely understandable. Do you think that helped you in any way, shape, or form, or do you think he was able to stick with that mental game?
It probably helped a little bit, because I did notice him and Lorenzo were dropping significantly, like midway through the race. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I can try to catch up. And that was the point where Jess pitted, and I was thinking of pitting, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to go for the win potentially. So I just kept going out, and
they
noticed that their pace was dropping.
They had about a 3-lap span where they were really fighting, and they actually swapped positions on back-to-back laps. So I think they had back-to-back laps where they both did like high 31s, and I think that's what really brought you guys into the fight. And then obviously from there it just fell your guys' way.
Yeah, because I noticed, like, I was peeking at, like, the time leaderboards, and I noticed they're, like, high, like, mid to high, like, 30s and 31s. I'm like, oh, there must be really fighting up there. And then I see them, like, yeah, there they go. Yeah, they're really battling it out.
Well, I asked just the same thing. I asked you the same thing at the end of the last race. How do you feel about the constructor standings right about now? Because you guys were pretty well knocking it out of the park before this race, but now, I mean, especially you guys have really got, I would say, quite the advantage here with, I mean, that sum total. I didn't see you at Fast Lap, but I know you've got at least 210 points out of this race alone. That is a substantial amount on top of what is already, you know, a relatively significant lead for you. So looking towards the end of the season, did you anticipate this kind of victory here or in the season overall? Do you think you're going to be able to hold on to that first place spot in the Constructors?
It's quite, like, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about it, like, and I'm sure Jess is too, but I mean, if we're still consistent enough, I mean, I think we can still have it in the bag, quite possibly. I mean, it's pretty crazy on how we're, like, that in the lead, so
Gonna be honest, that was a much more wishy-washy answer than I was expecting. You got like a death grip on this thing, and you're over here like, I don't, maybe we could potentially, perhaps, you know.
You don't know. Yeah.
Come on, you gotta have some confidence in yourself, especially after a phenomenal drive today and last week.
Oh, yeah.
So, throw some confidence on your name, Selena. Come on.
Yep. We're gonna do it. Let's just say that we're gonna do it.
Yeah,
there
let's
you
go.
Heard it here first.
We're gonna do it.
And now you're definitely gonna both crash out of the next race.
Oh,
Guarantee,
no.
as soon as you say that. All right. Well, that's it for me. Adam, you got anything else?
No, just another fantastic drive by you and Jess, and so impressive to take a team 1-2 there, and especially such a critical race for the championship.
Well, you got any last words before we send you on out?
I'd say shout out to Jess for the amazing win that we had, and yeah, it was a really good race, really outstanding race. Like, things just fell into our hands this race, which is great. Looking forward to the next one.
As are we. Thanks so much, and we'll send you on back now. Enjoy the 1-2.
Thanks, Selena.
Thank you.
All right, and I believe we got Maxwell coming up next. So without any further delay, Mr. Noel Maxwell, in the chat here. It was an eventful race for you, my friend. I mean, lots of ups and a couple of downs. What were your thoughts going throughout that? Did you feel under pressure much?
Yeah, but I felt really positive overall. I mean, it's bittersweet the way that everything went because Selena and I both had really good pace, and she beat me out on the overcut. But before that even happened, Lorenzo and I had a really, really, really great fight.
Mm-hmm.
And because my pace was so good, I was having trouble getting past him, and it made me be a bit aggressive. Admittedly, I got, I think, a bit frustrated when we were battling, and then I saw him cut a corner. So I tried to be aggressive into one corner. It was just a little too much. So I apologize to him for that. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a lot of fun. Really great. I wish it could have been a little bit better, though. I'm always on the verge.
Your pace, especially in the early part of the race, was incredible. You were just driving around
laps.
people. You were on fire. It was almost at the point where I was thinking in my head, did Maxwell screw up and maybe take a wrong pit strategy thinking that we were refueling this race? But no, you didn't. You were just on fire. So, I mean, that was so much fun for us to watch.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was super quick, and after I was doing quality lap after quality lap, I was a bit surprised because I hadn't been able to stay that consistently on the pace for so long. But I knew that as I was looking back and looking at my relative, that Selena was coming with me, so that I knew that she was going to be right there the entire time. So props to her for getting the overcut and getting it done at the end. But it was a good battle with her as well.
Yeah, I mean, you had some amazing battles here this go around, and considering previous results, you've always been up there in kind of the talks for us. But I feel like you really made a statement this go around, especially with how strong your pace was. I mean, like Adam said, you were just cutting through everybody at the start, especially when we saw, Gino get overtaken by Lorenzo, and we were thinking that, oh, maybe this is going to be the battle, but you moved up from 6 into what could have been, and I don't necessarily like to use that phrase a whole lot, but it could have been a victory from 6 on the grid. So it was impressive, all things considered, and you still ended up on the podium. I mean, what is this doing for your confidence personally? Because you very clearly have just phenomenal pace. As you showcased an amazing battle, as you said.
Yeah, I think that it bodes well for me, and I think it bodes well in the championship as well. But I think what I need is a little bit more patience, along with I need my teammate. I need a teammate now to also get points with me so that we can battle for the team championship as well. So if there's anybody looking for a teammate for next season, let me know. But but yeah, I mean it's done wonders so far, and I feel like with if I just exercise a little bit more patience, maybe something good will come my way. But I shouldn't get so bright-eyed all the time.
Well, I don't think you're gonna be. It's not gonna be too hard for you to find a teammate for next season, especially if you keep driving like the way you did tonight.
Hey, if that's the impression that I can make on others, I'm down to go. I'm down to go far.
Well, I wish you luck in that. Although I feel like that's kind of a moot point. I don't necessarily think you'll need it. But do you have anything else you want to say real fast before we let you go?
Yeah, appreciate Selena. Appreciate both of you guys. I appreciate Lorenzo's sportsmanship as well. Great racing all around. I've never had a better racing experience as a group than in SRA. So appreciate all y'all.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, just phenomenal. We'll send you on back. Thanks for joining us here.
Take care.
So thoughts from Maxwell, and you can very clearly tell. Obviously, we talked about that incident, the hairpin that defined the race for Christian Lorenzo. Certainly not malicious. There was absolutely zero intent to make that happen.
Definitely, and I mean, it was an ambitious move, but I think we've all gone for a move for that before, and yeah, it just didn't come off today.
Yeah, like you said, when your pace is that strong,
Yeah, you just try and make things happen. Yeah, I was hoping we could get our silver podium in here, but I do not see any. Oh, nope, Sullivan is in chat.
Lorenzo did agree to come on.
Oh, we can.
So I wanted to hear his point of view.
Yeah, let's do that.
If you're all right with that. So let's go ahead and grab him. So Christian Lorenzo, I don't know if you had the chance to hear my good friend, but my personal driver of the day, if it were not for those couple of incidents. I see he's still muted right now. He did agree to come on. There we go.
I'm here. Yep.
Welcome in. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves here. That was some great driving from you, and then everything just went wrong. I mean, when you managed to get past Gino on that first lap, might have been one of the more exciting moments of the season so far. Because, I mean, of course, Gino's won the last 3 races. You got past, you kept him behind, and you had amazing battles with Maxwell in particular before it all went south.
Yeah, that was pretty good first lap. I mean, when we were like on the out lap, I was checking the outside line just to see if I could, keep it there. So once the race started and I got a little bit of a jump on him, I knew that I was gonna make the pass right there. So yeah, everything played out perfectly at the first half of the race. But Maxwell had a ton of pace, and I started saving my tires. Like when I saw him closing in, I knew at the end it was gonna be tight. But yeah, unfortunately we had that little accident there in the hairpin, and then I messed up my pit stop. Trying to set up like the repair thing in ACC, and got distracted on them at the end. Went in second gear into the pit stop. So.
Oh no.
I have been there before.
100%.
Let me tell you.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, yeah, that's.
As soon as I went in, I was like, "Oh, yep, that's my race. It's ruined right there." But other than that, it was great. It was great battling, and I mean, I was a bit frustrated with the qualifying, to be honest. I had like one lap there, like with 3 or 4 tenths. I was up on my time, and then I couldn't put it together at the end, so I felt like I could get pole. But overall, it was a good race.
I was about to say.
Went
I mean, you're qualifying. You mentioned how you think you could have gotten on the pole, but it was impressive nonetheless. We're talking about the big story for this week was track conditions, and grip was going to be hard to find, and yet you managed to qualify P2 as a part of the first group of drivers to go out before the track had a chance to fully evolve. So very clearly, I mean, amongst the silver drivers, you were the top, but even amongst the gold drivers in your division, who had a bit of a qualifying advantage over you in the last race, if memory serves, at Brands Hatch, you still had most of them, dead to rights, I suppose, is the way I would say it. And what do you think about moving into the remainder of the season now? Do you suppose that they're probably taking you as a more serious threat?
Probably. I mean, after this race, the pace I showed, I think they're gonna take me a little bit more seriously. I don't know how it's gonna go in that last race. I never raced at Bathurst before, so I might be out in last one. We never know. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Laguna is one of the tracks that I hate, but I am kind of good at. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, if you can have the same pace that you had tonight, then I think you'll be on for a good finishing position. Because, I mean, all things considered, obviously, the accident was very unfortunate, and then, the pit stop. But, I mean, you and Maxwell both had great pace, and, I mean, you guys had just an incredible battle for what seemed like 2 or 3 laps, and yeah, it was so much fun for us to watch that. So thank you for putting on a great show again.
Yep. I said it last time. I'm gonna try to give you more action. Ended up on the wall, but I did it.
Oh man, that second one. I think I said it. I don't think I've ever seen a car end up in that barrier before. That was very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it certainly didn't go your way, but I think very clearly you have shown that you have a lot of potential. So, I guess there's a silver lining here, but it's gonna be a bit of a tough one to swallow, I imagine. Like I said, I was in a similar position at Valencia. I led pretty much the whole race, and then I had some pit complications and ended in P20. So, yeah, I can kind of feel your pain a little bit on that.
My pain, yep.
Yep.
But at least, this is gonna be my drop race. So, yeah, points wise, it's not gonna be that hurtful.
There you go.
Right.
There's one way to have a positive outlook, I suppose.
Silver lining.
Yep.
Right then. Well, do you have any final words here before we send you on back over into the race chat?
Not much. Yeah, just thank you guys again for the work that you're doing, and thanks to the steward and everybody in the division. Keeping it clean, and yeah, just looking forward to the next couple of races to close out the season. It's gonna be interesting.
Right then. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We look forward to your next one.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Christian.
All right, I just gotta say, I don't think he intended this, but after getting taken out of the hairpin, which I think was Maxwell's fault, he said thank you to the stewards.
Yeah.
And thanks for keeping it clean. I think that was just, I don't think that was intended to be like calling him out, but I just gotta say that's kind of what has happened in my head.
Yeah.
But no, he. Like I said, when Maxwell was on, very clearly not intentional or malicious, and I think Lorenzo gets the idea as well. So
yeah,
sometimes these things just happen.
Yeah, those types of incidents happen when you're just fighting that hard, especially when you're fighting for a win. And I mean, you don't want to hold back, and sometimes you just get that little bit too ambitious. So I mean, you can't fault Maxwell too much, but obviously the incident, when it comes down to it, will almost certainly result in them receiving some sort of penalty. I don't think it'll be too harsh of a penalty, but
we'll let the stewards decide.
Yeah, that's for them to decide. We just talk about it.
That's not our job. We just sit here and yell at racing cars. Exactly. I don't know what's going on.
Car goes vroom, we go yay. That's how it goes.
All right. Well, do you have anybody else in particular you want to pull in for one last go around?
I was going to say we can pull Jack Sullivan in, but they are muted in the race chat. I wish maybe we just need to start. Oh nope, they just hopped out of race chat, so never mind. But that was our silver winner for tonight. So congratulations to them, even though we don't get to talk to them.
Yes, it's a nice little change of pace for them as well. I know we talked about it limitedly, but getting a couple of drivers more into the mix, into that top 10, I believe it was like the 9th through 11th spots. We had drivers who we haven't really seen earn too many top 10 finishes, too many big points finishes. They kind of moved up this time.
Yeah.
So for Zolder, lots of good stories.
Yeah. A race that we didn't think was maybe going to be the greatest, just by the nature of the track and how hard it is to overtake, and it once again D4 delivers.
Yeah. No complaints here.
Nope.
Next week, Laguna Seca, which surely will have, I can almost guarantee you that the corkscrew is going to be the site of much carnage. Some way, shape, or form.
Those big sausage curbs on the inside of some of those corners and the unforgiving track limits, it is a recipe for chaos.
Ultimate catastrophe. But that's next week. So that's gonna about do it for us here tonight. English is hard, man. It's a good thing they don't pay us, because otherwise I'd probably be getting fired for too long.
Oh, we'd certainly be getting paid off. That's a certainty at this point.
Yeah, well, they pay me to settle course of setups, and I still go incredibly slowly. That's not true. They don't do that. It would be cool if they did, though. Hint. Anyway, I got nothing else. We're here at the end of our days, so to speak, for this stream. As we said, Zolder has had many an impressive story, many a disappointing story for some, but overall, just another phenomenal race. As you said, Adam, D4 delivers.
Yeah, absolutely 11 watching these drivers race every week.
Yeah. Speaking of, we will be back next week, Laguna Seca, right here on the Sim Racing Alliance channel for Division 4, but of course, there will be more races happening tomorrow night. It's going to be all of the divisions that did not race today, go figure, on the Sim Racing Alliance channel. So hop in the Discord, check out those social links, and you'll have all the racing action you could possibly want. But for us, that's going to do it. So we're going to say good night to you all. And again, tune in tomorrow. More racing action, and tune in to us right here on the YouTube channel next week for Round 7 at Laguna Seca.
See ya.